Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. Man, what a 24 hours for Destiny. So I'm shooting this, it's actually been a little more than 24 hours since the news hit, just to kind of give myself some time to get my head wrapped around it. So today we're talking about the announcement that we're not going to get Wild Horizons or OP Kit or anything like that, and the cancellation of Worlds, and where we really go from here. Hey guys, so welcome again. Thanks for joining me for today's discussion. So this is going to be an interesting discussion today. First off, I'm between meetings at work. I only have about 20 minutes to do this, so if it goes longer, I'm just going to cut and we'll come back and kind of try and finish where we're at. So apologies in advance there. And also, this is a pretty emotionally charged one, right? There's a lot of emotions, not only community-wise going on here, but I mean, I don't think I really need to explain that one. But I'm going to do my best, because if you really wanted me to sit and rant about some of the stuff, like, we could literally be here for hours, right? But yeah, so what we're talking about specifically, for those of you who haven't seen, and I highly doubt there are any, that FFG organized play came out in pretty true FFG fashion. So this what I'm showing right now is actually the physical announcement from FFG OP. In light of the events of 2020, there will be no further OP kits or events for Star Wars Destiny. So they're out. They're done. They're done with Star Wars Destiny. And then there was some other various comments. It really just blows my mind. So what I meant in terms of is very FFG-esque, right? Is it blows my mind that you have to follow these guys on 4 or 5 different forms of social media in order to actually get news. But the first comment came out. The reason I say in true FFG fashion is the first comment that ended up making its rounds was in some Q&A. It's basically in a response of somebody's question on a different thread completely, and someone from FFG OP was like, "We're not planning on Wild Horizons." And we were like, well, we already knew that, but are you planning on Echoes of Destiny, right? So from that, a whole bunch of more questions came out. So what I suspect is they've known for probably some period of time in FFG OP, and they're like, well, of course we're not going to do that, but we're not going to tell anybody anything. And then somebody probably just slipped up in a comment, said it, and then they had to put out the fire yesterday, and there's right, you guys are done. So like I said, there's a bunch of emotions about this, but the fact is we're not getting Wild Horizons in any physical form, any official form from FFG. There were questions asked, why not do print and play, which you guys know that's the camp I'm in, of I think they kind of owe us something. I mean, yes, I do actually think they owe us something, right? But again, I'm getting off. So getting off topic. So where we're gonna go from here is first off, let's talk about Worlds. I don't think very many I think we were all hoping for it, but I don't think anybody reasonably actually ever thought Worlds was going to happen, right? I'm pretty sure the minute that they issued the refunds, which was back in September timeframe, pretty sure that was the nail in the coffin for Worlds. I don't think that's really surprising too many people. Not getting Wild Horizons is surprising. There's a lot to this, and certainly don't have enough time to go through all of it, but I was still, you guys know, I was still in the camp that it doesn't make sense. This whole thing doesn't make any sense. If they back in January, when they killed the game and they said, hey, we have set 10 coming, I think a lot of us, we made the assumption that we didn't really have high hopes for it to begin with, which, I mean, that's what we have. COVID was standing, we still didn't have high hopes for it. But the fact is, it was always confusing why they were doing that to begin with. unless, right, the prevailing theory which I subscribed to was that they either had it physically done already, or they had some portion of it already made, or they had paid for it or something like that. So there was some reason for it, because like for them to say we're killing the game and then make another financial risk move into that, investment into that, whatever, was always weird. So I subscribe to the logical theory that they had something physical involved. I mean, clearly that's not the case if they're just cutting bait here. That's clearly not the case. So I don't know. I don't know the details. I don't think we'll ever know the details. It would be nice to know, but it's just not going to happen, folks. Right? So, yeah. So we won't see Wild Horizons in any way, shape, or form. Now, moving on, the thing that I think doesn't surprise anyone, right? I mean, I think a lot of us expected that. I mean, one of the things I said in a previous video was that I don't think we'll ever hear anything from FFG on this officially, because the minute they do something officially, somebody's going to leak the set. That's basically spot on what happened. It was leaked. One of the playtesting files was leaked on various discords. It's up on my Discord. I'm not going to share it here because it's on the Facebook page, I think, as well. Like you can track it down with minimal effort. I'm not going to share it here because it is unprotected, or not unprotected. I don't know what the word is right now, but it's unpublished, unofficial work, right? That doesn't belong to me. It belongs to FFG. It's not my property. It's FFG's property. It's their intellectual property. So I don't feel comfortable showing it here, but it's been tossed around various discords. It is out there. You can go check it out and evaluate it for yourself. So the next comment I want to say before we go into the rest of this, and this is actually very important, right, is we don't know. What we have is a playtest file, right? It's a playtest file PDF, and we don't know that that's the final version of these cards, right? And that's very important. Like, we don't know at what stage along. I mean, we can assume that this was a pretty close to the end version, but there are cards in there that are still using code names. It's not very clear. It's abundantly clear that one could assume that it's Mandalorian characters, right? So if you just timeline that, like, that was a long time ago. So we don't know, like, obviously this isn't the final to print version because there's no images, they're just playtest files. So again, remember that, like, when we're going through and looking at these cards, like, it may not have been the final version that we would have gotten if Destiny hadn't been canceled. Like, there could have been further changes. We don't know if this is almost more importantly is, like, especially with the code names, like, we don't know if this was the pre-Disney stamp or the post-Disney stamp, right? So that's important as well. However, seeing it out there, I mean, it's cool to see where FFG was. There's a lot of very interesting mechanics in there that I think are worth keeping in mind going forward. So that's what I want to spend the rest of this talking about. We can maybe do an online hangout or something and just bitch about FFG forever. But I mean, yeah, I'm bummed we're not getting a physical. I mean, bummed is the sugar-coated way of saying that I'm really disappointed that we're not getting a physical version. So, all right, so where do we go from here? It's an interesting discussion on where we go from here, right? So I'm going to mostly be I'm going to be talking about the community at large, but I'm largely going to be talking about where ARH, the Renewed Hope Committee, would stand, or what I think, kind of not really what I think they should do, because they're going to do what they want to do, and we know a good portion of them are under NDA, so that they also have that to consider, and we need to be empathetic towards that, right? But I think that's the main thing. Is I really feel bad for the ARH guys on the whole. Not that this happened, because I think we all knew this was going to happen, but the timing really sucks, because we've already started seeing some spoilers for Redemption, which is their set 12, which was slated for I think the 27th or something like that of January. So it's right around the corner, whatever it is. But the timing's bad. And then it puts them in a rough spot from it being unofficially. Like, if FFG had dropped it, completely different discussion, right? But the fact that it's unofficial playtesting stuff that's flying around that are, I mean, it's, like I said, the NDA matters because some of those guys are under NDA and can't talk about it. But on the whole, and again, this has been 24 hours, things have evolved, I'm sure people are talking behind the background, but on the whole, the initial reaction, or at least the initial impression that I got from ARH, was that they were upset that it had been spoiled and leaked. And I mean, obviously for the face value of it, but I think by and large it would be a mistake for ARH to ignore, I use the term on my Discord ostrich, right, which is, putting your head in the sand and ignoring it. I think it would be a giant mistake to ignore it. First off, you have some logistical issues from the ARH side, like they called it set 11 and set 12, leaving a gap for set 10. So then if they just ignore set 10, which everybody now has access to, that's weird. And by ignore it, I mean there's several things here, right? Like, do I think that ARH should make a set do I think they should make their own set 10 that is these cards? Like, I don't think ARH should touch that with the 10-foot pole. Like, so they're in, I mean, again, they're in a rough spot, and I really feel for these guys because they can't ignore this, but they can't do anything about it. So the first thing I think, the first impact I think this is going to have to ARH is, I would imagine that with the community excitement around Wild Horizons, like it's going to take probably like maybe 2 days before somebody puts these cards in some form into a JSON and gets it on TTS. Like, it's not going to take that long. And I don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be the ARH guys, but like somebody's going to get it on there. So we're going to have, like, we are going to naturally have a community split, and that's if the ARH doesn't go down the path of embracing the set. We're going to have a natural community split, and I think that's going to hurt things. But more so in the ignoring, like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert, but like I know that you can trademark names and stuff. Like Magic owns tap, right? But they don't own the concept of turning a card sideways to mark that it's used, right? So that's in terms of like game mechanics, right? I know these guys are under NDAs, and I don't know the fine wording of legality, but one of the concepts in this set is renew, which is basically after you play a card, you can actually spend more to play it again from your discard pile, and then it gets removed from the game or gets set aside. I mean, that's a concept that lives in many games, and like, sure, maybe ARH can't call it renew, but they can call it recycle, or they can call it something like that, right? So that's more where I'm going here. Is there's a lot of really cool concepts in this set that I think, like, there are 3 die characters in this set, right? So you have 1, 2, 3 dice. FFG doesn't own that concept, right? Like, they could do a 3 die character. We already saw it from the Coruscant Initiative guys. Like, it's, they can. So like I said, there's a lot of really cool mechanics in this set that if they just completely ignore and say anything that's in anything that's in Wild Horizons is off limits for any ARH set in the future, like they can't have another color, they can't have multiple dice, they can't use renew, they can't use all this other stuff. I think that would be a huge mistake, right? So I think the act of ignoring the set's existence altogether is a mistake. In terms of format and stuff, they can, I mean, we already have the ARH standard format, right, which is obviously a fan-created format. So they own that format, and they can do. I mean, there are banned cards. Like, they've banned cards. They haven't eroded anything. They've just banned FFG cards, right? But so that's already, like, they've already done that. So there's no reason they couldn't just ban, quote unquote, the entire Wild Horizons set. That's certainly something they could do. I think the ultimate success is probably to somehow figure out a way to get Wild Horizons in. I don't know what that's going to look like, because so far ARH for their set and the upcoming set, like, they release the files for it, right? So you can get the cards and play them. FFARH, obviously, nor would I, or anybody who's like an organization has anything to lose. Like, nobody who has anything to lose is going to probably make these files and like distribute them. And certainly they're not going to sell them, but like, they're not going to distribute them because like there's just too much risk there, right? So that also puts ARH in a weird spot where, like, if they do make it, like, in some weird thing, they do make it standard or they do make it part of ARH standard, like, they're going to have to facilitate people having those cards in some form. And like, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, right? Like, I don't blame them. So these guys are up a creek. Right, I'm closing in on my time, so let me see if I can wrap this up here. But the biggest thing for ARH that I feel really bad about is the timeline. And I may have already touched on this, I don't remember, but I think probably the right thing for them to do, unfortunately, is to probably push they probably need to push their set 12 release date by a couple weeks to help them maximize the interest in that set, because the eyes are going to be on Wild Horizons in some form for the next minimum 1 to 2 weeks. Now, I have seen some discussions out there where people are saying, well, if we just ignore it and we move on and only play RH Standard, people will forget about Wild Horizons. I don't think that's the case, right? We're seeing a lot of analogies made to the imaginary 2-player set that never happened, like the Luke Vader thing that's out there. And again, I feel that it's a different situation here, given that Wild Horizons was announced and we knew it, right? So the difference between that imaginary set that never existed was nobody actually knew, like it was never publicly announced that said set existed. It just kind of like showed up one day. In the playtesting file, it just kind of showed up one day. So like that was a lot easier to ignore than something that we've been told has been coming for the better part of a year and everybody's been waiting for. So I don't think that saying, well, let's just ignore it like we did the other thing is going to work here. And I think, I don't know, I keep saying, like, I feel really bad for the position that they've been put into, because they're going to have to figure out what to do from an official standpoint, and they're going to have to figure out how to incorporate this into their designs. But, like I said, at the very end of the day, I think they need to push their set probably to try, because what they're doing is good, and getting those new cards out and continuing with ARH Standard is good. I think they just have to push the release date so that it doesn't fall on deaf ears, right? I mean, presumably over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see more spoilers across the set, and kind of a campaign to get people excited. And like, do you really want the argument? Like, what they want on release weekend is to have a massive release weekend tournament where everyone's super excited about it, like they did for FA. Like, you don't want the argument going into that being, well, why can't I use Wild Horizons, right? So like, I think they just need to push maybe a month, maybe 6. I don't know what the timeline would be. They can figure that out. But that's what my take is. I think there just needs to be a delay, pump the brakes a little bit, and let people have the excitement wane down. Yeah, I don't know. And then I know I'm kind of jumping here, but the last part of this is, again, as I mentioned, like we still don't know whether this is the final files. I don't think we're ever going to know. It would have been super great if like Matt Holland or somebody like had a jump drive of the stuff when he left, but obviously not only would that be bad for his career going forward, but I mean, he probably didn't do that. I don't know, maybe somebody can buy Jeremy a beer or 6 and it can happen one day, but I mean, regardless, I'm just spitballing here, but the point is that this is not, like, we don't know that these are final versions, right? So like, I've heard a lot of people, especially on like the DC Team channel, they're looking through it, they're like, man, I'm really glad this set didn't get published because there's a lot of broken stuff in here. And like, we don't know. So we don't know if it's broken or not because we haven't played it. Some of the stuff does look pretty powerful. Some of the stuff also looks really cool. But like, we don't know, like, to say, well, this looks really broken. Like, we don't know that's actually the final version, right? So I don't know how we move forward here. I think we have to, I'm confident that we have to incorporate Wild Horizons into the future of Star Wars Destiny somehow. Like, the cat's out of the bag now, and I just don't see any other way. I just don't see any way that we don't have Wild Horizons as part, but I wish I had better ideas, guys. I don't know. I mean, it's been quick, and like I said, there's a lot of emotions going around, and people are flip-flopping and talking and trying to figure out what to do. I don't know, I'm really sorry, RH guys, that this happened to you. And I'm sorry to the whole community that this happened like this. I really don't understand why. We couldn't have gotten a final assets file or something. I don't think it would have been that hard for them to do, but it's FFG, but that's a different discussion. So anyway, my friends, keep your heads up. I had a post out there, right? I know the Worlds thing kind of hurt a lot of people. There will be events in the future, right? I mean, I had a Facebook post. I'll put it right here, right? And I was kind of joking about, like, soon enough, we're going to be having, like, soon enough, the discussion won't be, oh my goodness, Destiny's over, we have no Worlds. Like, soon enough, the discussion is going to be, like, which event gets to call themselves worlds, because we're going to have 2 or 3 different groups that are trying to do, and by groups I mean like groups of individuals, not like ARH versus whatever other fan card said. That's not what I mean, right? Like there's going to be, a Portland group or a Texas group specifically, or something else where like they want to have people out and they want to play and they want to call it worlds, and like then there's going to be some of those, well, why can't I be worlds, or whatever, right? Like that's the stuff we should be arguing about, and like it's going to happen again. Like it will happen again one day. So no worlds, don't worry about it. Like it's not a problem. That's real. That's the lowest of our concerns right now. But I get why everybody's pumped. Like I said, I'm not dismissing your feelings. That's not what's happening here. I'm just saying like that one's going to be okay. Like we can handle that. So I don't know. Interesting. I do know. I know what I think, right? But it's just okay. Sorry. It's been a rough 24 hours for Destiny. Trying to control my emotions here, right? I don't know why we keep getting put in this position. Like I don't feel like we're bad people. But anyway, I think that's about it. I'm actually closing in on my 2 p.m. meeting, so thanks guys for joining me. Keep the discussion going. Keep your heads up. Things are going to be okay. Go out and find those wild rides and stuff. Make the decisions for yourself. But again, remember that the individuals who have to make the decisions for ARH Standard and what they want to do and for their sets, they have a lot of different moving pieces that they have to incorporate here. So please try to have empathy and understanding for one another as we fight this out. And by fight it out, I mean, struggle with the consequences, not actually fight with each other, right? That's not what I mean. But there are things that need figured out, and we'll figure them out in due time. So anyway, that's all from me today. Go Commando.